Let me show you how I turn an ordinary 3D print into a nice shiny piece of metal. First up, I designed the 3D model in a way that makes the sand casting process a lot easier. This means that all the angles are drafted to about 3 degrees and that the risers and metal flow channels are pre-built into the model. Next up, of course, is 3D printing. I normally choose PETg filament in a nice bright color so that it's easy to see surface imperfections. It's important to make sure that the surfaces are nice and smooth. A combination of heat treating with a wood burning tool or soldering iron and needle files is a great way to achieve a finish suitable for mold making in sand. Once the 3D printed part has nice and smooth edges, the next step is to create the first half of a 2-part mold. I'm going to use fine water bonded sand that I bought from a local foundry a few years ago. It's not as good as oil bonded sand, but it should be good enough for our purposes. All the tools that I use for packing the sand into the box are 3D printed. I just made a variety of sizes to help me pack the sand in all corners of the mold box, as well as around sprues and risers. To flatten out the top face of the box, I use a skimming tool and I go back and forth until the face of the sand is nice and flat. This is important because the whole thing needs to be turned over and any unevenness in the surface will cause wobbling later on. Now we can turn over the box and repeat the process for the second half. This is mostly the same, but you just have to add parting powder first to make sure the sand we pack in this half doesn't stick to the sand in the bottom half. Then we add the risers, which have quite large drafting angles to make them easy to remove at the end. The rest is exactly the same as before. Here I'm cutting out a little pouring basin to help me aim the liquid metal when I'm pouring it in. Once that's all done, I take a 3mm steel rod and poke holes into the mold to help gases escape. If all goes well, the two halves of the mold should separate nicely once we pull the box apart. After that, we need to remove the 3D printed part to complete the mold. It's a really good idea to use the 3D printed risers because they wedge into the object and give me leverage that I can pull on. With the part removed, the mold can now be put back together and it's ready for casting. Now that we have the sand mold ready to go, I put the aluminium pieces in a graphite crucible and then add a little bit of flux. This helps remove the gunky layer of aluminium at the top that forms due to oxidization. And now the time has finally come to melt the metal. I'm using an electric kiln here, programmed to about 750 degrees Celsius to melt the aluminium metal. And while I wait for the metal to melt, I make sure to chill and hang out with all of my friends. Hey guys! It's also nice to get a look at some plants and flowers every now and then. It looks like they're all asleep, so we best not disturb them. Once the molten metal is ready, we need to take it out and clean it up a little bit. The sodium carbonate flux helps bring out the oxidized aluminium to the top, which makes it nice and easy to skim out with a steel tool. And now let's pour this in and see how it goes. Alright, so back here in the workshop, it's time to see how our casting turned out. Honestly, I'm pretty happy with it. The finish is not perfect by any means, but it's definitely acceptable. Now I need to get rid of all the sand and free the pot. There are some blemishes which I suspect are due to the metal inlet being too thin and also a lack of ventilation, so I guess I'll have to improve on that next time. Before we can polish this thing, we need to get rid of the excess metal. I do this using a hand saw for the stubborn parts. This normally takes a while, so you have to be patient. After that, I grab a file to flatten all the sides down by hand as much as possible. Any other parts that are still protruding from the piece are ground down using a tungsten carbide rotary tool bit. Okay, and now we need to make this look nice and shiny. This takes a long time because you have to use sandpaper in a series of grits in order to get it nice and smooth. Okay, it's looking pretty good, but we can make it even better using some aluminium polish. Just dab a little bit of microfiber cloth into the tub and then rub it over the aluminium piece. You should see some black residue forming, which is a good sign that the polish is working. Once you've finished rubbing on the compound, you need to clean it using a dry part of the microfiber cloth. And you just have to keep wiping it until the black residue is completely gone. And look at that. That's super shiny and it's looking absolutely amazing. Alright, that wraps up this video. Thanks very much for watching everybody, and as always, please do let me know what you think in the comments below. I'll see you next time.